Let's open up the Vintage Collection Incinerator Trooper from the Mandalorian. Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there. Thanks for visiting Varykino. One aspect of Star Wars video games that I've always enjoyed is the fun array of variations of the iconic Stormtrooper, something we never really saw in live action form until we got the Mandalorian series. Of course, we have the battle-worn Remnant Trooper, the yellow striped Artillery Trooper, and from Season 1, the red-marked Incinerator Trooper, which you can see I have here from the Vintage Collection. So I'm going to have a lot of fun checking this one out. I think they were an awesome addition to the iconic Stormtrooper lineup. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up very soon, I'll take a closer look at this figure out of the packaging and check out all of the cool details. We've got a cool flame accessory in there. I can just peek there in the back. But first, let's take one last look at the packaging. Of course, this is from the Kenner-inspired Vintage Collection line, so we have the very retro-styled chrome racetrack backing card, always iconic. We have the Mandalorian series logo here in the top in red, and for this particular figure, we have a yellow accent color for the title card here, Incinerator Trooper, and behind the figure itself. I really like the promo image they have used here of the Incinerator Trooper with his flamethrower held up. Very, very cool. It almost looks like a render rather than a promo. It just looks very, very clean and tidy there. Of course, we have the figure packaged here very nicely with the accessory behind them. I really want to see this red plastic flame accessory. I think that will be a really fun addition there. On the back, we can see that this is VC177, and we can see some of the other figures from this wave. We have the Incinerator Trooper, Hondo Ohnaka, Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Maul, Chirrut Imwe, ARC Trooper 5s, and Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight. And a lot of copyright text there in various languages. So there we go. A very cool card. As you can see, I've kept this one carded for a little while. This is a slightly older figure. I just thought it looked so cool. But we're doing a Stormtrooper series here on the channel, opening up the iconic Stormtrooper in various formats across action figure lines like the Black Series and the Vintage Collection. So now is the perfect time to finally get this one out and check out all of the accessories and add it to our 3.75-inch action figure collection. So let's get into it. So now I have the figure and the accessories off the backing card. We can take a closer look. I really like the striking red of the Incinerator Trooper. It looks really quite sinister and obviously a perfect match for a flame-throwing character here. So I have to say, getting him off the backing card, he doesn't really want to stand up very well. It's taking me a little bit of finessing to get him to stand up. It's going to take a little bit of time to, I think, get all of the joints. Sometimes they're just a little bit wonky in the legs when they're packaged. So this one's definitely going to take a little bit more balancing, because you can see this is all attached. Like the Black Series Incinerator Trooper, this sort of cording from the flamethrower weapon is attached to the backpack. So giving this all a little bit of a wiggle, I can see that it's kind of made out of a rubbery plastic, this particular part. The canisters on the back are solid, but this section here, the sort of straps, are all connected to the shoulder pauldron here. So if you really wanted to customize the figure, you could probably pop off the helmet and get this all off and remove it, because it is very tight up around under the helmet. You are going to have to take the helmet off to get this off, but it means that we can do just a little bit of adjusting, because it actually just moves a little. It's separate to the chest pieces there, so we can get it to sort of a tidy position. But like other characters that have large accessories or backpacks or something, sometimes it affects their balance just a little bit, especially since we have this attached. The cord is very sort of in a set position because this was packaged beside the figure. So I'm curious to see how much this is going to affect our ability to get this straight and posed in their hand. This kind of wants to fight with me a little bit, and as you can see, it wants to go back to its original position. So I think this figure is going to be one that might need a stand to sort of stand up straight on display, because I think this might be fighting its center of gravity a little bit there. Kind of wish it was separate. I kind of wish I could take this off. Maybe it was a bit of a thinner cord. It's kind of stiff and it really does want to go back to its original stored position. So we'll check that out very shortly. But I do really like the modern Stormtrooper sculpting for the Vintage Collection line. Hasbro has really come a long way since the Power of the Force 2 era, and of course going back to the original Kenner Stormtrooper. It's just fantastically detailed. I love the scale, the proportion. The helmet is just really on point. Really, really like it. So let's go over the painted details here. I really like the red on the helmet. The stripe goes all the way up. Very clean. Some of the other variations from the Mandalorian, we have a lot of weathering because of course the Empire is not really in full control, so their armor is a little bit more weathered up. This one is actually quite clean in terms of the red markings here. It doesn't have that kind of weathered edges there. So we can see very, very nice clean red stripe there on the top and on the face. We've even got all of the other small details. It's really hard to see the blue striping here on the cheeks. We've got all of the sort of grey details around here for the helmet. All very tidy on my particular figure. Nothing really splodgy or drawing my eye in terms of paint flaws there. So moving on, again, very clean paint job here on the chest. Very nice. It does follow very similar paint scheme to the artillery trooper that we see later on in the series after we've already seen this. I think that's kind of fun that they sort of match there. We've got red accent stripes down the arms, around the edges of those shoulder pieces, and then red stripes coming down here all the way to the back of the hands. The same on the other side. Looking very clean, not really seeing any weathering. The top of the thighs all the way around to the back and around the bottom of the shin armor there at the ankles. And we've got just a red knee. So very clean paint job. I don't see any sort of major flaws. I do give Hasbro a little bit of a wiggle room for error there when dealing with the smaller figures. They definitely do have perhaps a little bit more variation than say the larger Black Series scale. But for a figure of this size, I'm very happy with the paint job here. We've also got those black buttons there on the ab plate. Very tidy, very nice. I don't see anything that's really bothering me. So let's check out the articulation. I do find with the sort of attachments under the helmet, it is going to restrict the movement a little bit. I can kind of get side to side, but the chin is kind of hitting on this. So we're not going to get too much. And just because of the shape of Stormtrooper helmets, it kind of follows the shoulder. We don't get a lot of back and front movement. But for this one, I'm not too bothered about it. I generally don't tip my helmets too much around on figures of this scale. And I think for balance reasons, he's going to be standing up pretty straight. So the thermal detonator on the back doesn't have any painted details, but it is largely hidden by the backpack. So I'm not too bothered about that. Usually there is a little bit of a darker gray accent coloring there. It's all kind of hidden. The backpack kind of rests on it, sticks out from the body just a little bit there. Doesn't sit completely straight. I guess you could sort of adjust it up a little bit so it's kind of closer to the body up there, but it just kind of, that's where it wants to sit. There are sort of little peg attachment points, but they look pretty large. This might be where it was attached by Hasbro, but I feel like if I was to undo it here, I might break the top off these peg attachment points, so I'm not going to do that. But if you're into customizing your figures, that might be an option for trying to sort of remove this. So you could perhaps trim these shoulder pieces off if you just want the red pauldron. There's always an option there. There are some very skilled figure customizers out there. So overall, let's check out the rest of the articulation. Very nice. Through that center torso, you can lean forward, back, about as much as I would expect. I'm hoping we might be able to get a little bit of a forward pose. We can often sort of counterbalance the large backpacks there. You can actually get the shoulders up pretty high on these figures. I'm quite impressed. This actually fits under at the shoulder very nicely there, so we can actually get quite high. And we can see the sculpting of the black undersuit has that ribbed texture that we see in the modern Stormtrooper series. Very nice. We get a little bit, now that I've put the arms up, you can just see we've got a little bit of a mismatch here of white and black. We've got a little bit of a black line on that edge of the white armor and a little bit of white on the black undersuit. Very, very small detail in the back there that's generally going to be largely hidden by the arm down, but I could see that once I got the arm up. Cleaner on the other side, we don't have that issue over here. Underneath, very tidy painting under there. So let's check out these little shoulder joins. Nice elbows there, and good arm joins on that side. I'm hoping we'll be able to get these hands together. Generally speaking, for Stormtroopers, I like it when they can get their hands close together so we can get E11s or other blaster accessories in their hands well. This looks like we can get them close into the body. I can almost get a two-handed lightsaber grip out of him. Not that he has a lightsaber, but that's generally pretty good indication of the articulation through the arms. Very nice. So, oh, very nice swivel there on the hips. That's moving at the hip joint. It's a little bit hard sometimes to get the sort of upper thigh joint on vintage collection figures to actually rotate separately to the hips, because there's just the joint there, and then at the upper thigh, this whole thing is just rotating. I do wish on the vintage collection that the text on the thighs was a little bit more towards the back. It doesn't take too much of a outward rotation to show that copyright text on the front of the figure. I kind of wish it was more towards the back. You can see the gap here. We've got a big gap between the text and the back sort of seam line here. I wish it was more towards the back so it didn't show so very easily. And we've also got printed text here on the other thigh. So if you have your sort of thighs facing a little bit more to the front, you can see the raised text and the printed text, which those were just a little bit more tucked towards the back on these figures. Knees. Oh, we've got another sticky knee one. Oh, man, that feels like that's going to break. Yeah, I'm not liking that one there. Okay, let's see if this other knee is going to be a bit better. Okay, got that knee. I have to say I've come across a few Stormtrooper figures. This one, oh, there we go. Okay. That's not a, that's kind of freaking me out, that joint. I feel like that's, the peg is kind of a little bit bent, I think. It's very stiff, and I don't like it when it feels like I'm going to break something. This knee moved okay. That's pretty nice. We can see the sculpting, sort of the ribbed, got a little bit of paint wear there, but overall okay. And oh, very stiff ankles. Okay. You don't get too much movement in Stormtrooper ankles because of the sculpting of that shin armor. Very stiff there. And of course we've got peg holes on the bottom. I am going to test them on this one because I think this figure is going to be an ideal candidate for stands. I think with all of the accessories going on here that's attached to him, I'm going to have to... There's a whole lot of black splickling coming off this figure. I think there is some extra paint that's sitting on it somewhere. I'm getting a lot of little black flecks of paint on my hands as I'm handling this figure. Do notice that sometimes with some of these pots, when I move the articulation around, I get a little bit of extra paint coming off on my hands. So let's see how well he's going to hold this. I'm a little bit anxious about this. Sometimes these figures do look cooler on the backing cards because you don't see the tricky points of things like this. So I'm hoping I didn't make a mistake getting this guy off his backing card. So this is all pretty much a flat black. I do like the sculpting detail here. We've got these sort of pins here at the front, like a classic flamethrower where you've kind of got the fuel coming out and then sort of the ignition point. Very cool. It's got a very small grip here, so I'm hoping that's going to bode well for getting this figure to hold it. Let's see. oh, I'm not sure I'm going to get his trigger finger in there. It's got a very big loop. Let's see if I can get his finger in there. It's a bit tricky, actually. His finger's kind of crooked down on my particular figure. Just going to see if I can... No, the grip is very short, so I can't really get his finger to go in there. It's just hitting a bit short there. It's too short to kind of reach. It's just kind of resting there on the... I know it's black on black. It's very hard to see. And let's see if I can... The grip on this is very wide compared to the grip on Stormtrooper hands. This one's a very tight grip. I don't think I'm going to get any part of this into this grip hand. I might be able to kind of... Yeah, he's just going to have to hold it there, I think. He's kind of holding on to the trigger. That's not the worst. I was a little bit worried how he might be holding this, and the cable is kind of resting in an okay position. I was really worried it might be sticking out really weird, and I'd be regretting taking this one off its backing card. Overall, I don't think that's too bad for posing on my display shelf. Holding it securely. Just going to give him a test to see how well he might stand up with this. Okay, he is balancing. That's not too bad. His feet are a little bit wonky. I'm going to spend some time getting that looking a little bit more natural, but overall, he's standing up. That's good. Now let's take a closer look at this flame accessory while I just rest him there in the back. So we've got a semi-translucent, pretty much orange, all orange, sort of flame sculpting here. I actually have the Black Series here off to the side because I thought this would be interesting to compare it to. This is the flame from the Black Series Incinerator Trooper. And one thing that you can sort of see straight away is this one has a bit more two-tone to it. Starts off yellow, goes into the sort of orangey red down here. This one is just one color the whole way through. I kind of wish this had a yellow end to it, just to give it a little bit more depth. I know it's small. We can't really expect too much detail when you shrink the scale down. And that is a different sculpt. We've got some elements here. We've got a loop here that does exist here. And we've got down here, we've got sort of a little bit of a loop here that also here, but they are very different. This one's a bit more pointed. This one's got a rounder edge. It's not the same thing, just shrunk down. But I do like the two-tone plastic that they used for the Black Series. I know we're going to get just a better range of details on the Black Series because of that bigger scale. So it's just got a round sort of peg hole here. So I'm hoping it's just going to attach very easily. Now it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if there's going to be a specific... I'm going to try this way around. There isn't a picture on the box to show which way that this might attach, and maybe it'll just be up to the collector to which way around you like it sitting. I feel like the underside, that those pegs sit very nicely this side, so I think that's perhaps the way that I like it best. Let's just let it go because I'm moving this around. Okay, let's see. This is a very small grip. He's not holding it very tightly, and now I've gone and made it much heavier by putting the flamethrower section on it. But we can see what that looks like there. I think that looks really cool. Really cool. I know these sort of special effects are not for every collector. I think they're fun. I like the way that it kind of adds a little bit more sort of action and movement to figures. Makes me think back to the Saga collection around 2002 where they did sort of blaster deflecting sort of accessories for Jedi lightsabers. I think it's cool. Sort of adds a little bit of something to it, but I don't know if I can get him posing this anything more than just sort of pointing straight down. I'm having trouble getting him to do a very secure grip on this. It's definitely one of those ones where I'm going to spend a lot of time getting him to hold it because that grip is very small and we're just kind of fighting with the plastic cord here as well. It wants to kind of pull it out of his hands. Yeah, it's definitely okay. So I've got a clear stand here. So we're going to see how well we can get this one to stand up a little bit. And he's got very tight peg holes. This is a standard modern peg base. Okay, that was a very secure fit, so that could actually be very good. Let's see how well we can get him to stand up here. Yes, definitely better with a stand, I think, because we're going to have to maneuver the figure to get him to sort of balance with this. I'm going to have to play with some posing, because now you can see that other foot is clearly completely off the base there. We'll have to sort of pose him a little bit. He's wanting to lean there, but at least I can get him standing up, holding his flamethrower with that heavier accessory there on it. Very cool. Okay, so I was a little bit worried there that I might have made a terrible mistake uncarding him, because it did look so cool on the backing card. I really like the artwork on this one. Some figures, if they don't have a really clear sort of shot from the film or the series, can kind of look a little dark, a little bit sort of I don't want to say clumsy, but this one was a really nice promo shot. I think it worked really well. I was a little bit worried that it might just be a little bit of a clumsy toy once I got it off the backing card. I do really like the Black Series figure. That's why I really wanted to get this one out, because I had so much fun unboxing the Black Series version of the Incinerator Trooper. But this is looking better. I'm a little bit more relieved now. So I will spend some time getting this pose a little bit more. It takes a little bit of time, particularly with the smaller figures, are really finessing all of the articulation, trying to get the weapons posed just right in their hands. So I'll throw up some photos after I've spent a bit of time trying to see the best poses I can get out of this particular character. With his feet securely on a base, I think that gives us a little bit more posability. Because we have got the heavy weight of the backpack and this really long accessory. Honestly, I think this is one of the longest accessories I've seen for a 3.75 inch figure to hold raised off the ground. It's, you know, ideally we don't want to just have this resting on the ground. I want to see if I can get it shooting more parallel to the ground. I think that would look really cool rather than just shooting down at the ground. I need to get out a tiny little 3.75 inch Grogu here for this one to be aiming at. But overall, I think this one does look really cool. I like it with the flame accessory. I think that really makes it. Of course, the Incinerator Trooper, it's something unique in Star Wars. It's the first time we've seen it in the Empire in live action format. I think it was really fun. It was a very memorable scene in The Mandalorian. I think this looks really cool. I'm really happy. Good paint job. Little bit wobbly there with that accessory in his hand. I feel like, yeah, it's definitely going to take a little bit of working there to get it just the right sort of pose that I want. But overall, I think this looks really cool. Really happy. Had a lot of fun unboxing this one. I was a little bit worried, but we got there in the end. Very, very cool. So there we go. That is the Vintage Collection Incinerator Trooper 3.75 inch figure from The Mandalorian. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up this figure and had some fun checking out the details and the poses. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again soon. Catch you on the next video, and as always, may the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like. Check out our other videos and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.